So this episode is to celebrate mums because it is Mother's Day. So I want to welcome everyone to the Inadequate Mother podcast. Thank you for joining us. I am joined with a guest who I'm really excited to just have a good old chinwag with. I know her from seeing her content pop up recently because she's very bravely and wonderfully set up a podcast dedicated for young mothers called Diary of a Young Mom. Cindy
Powell.
And is it Pre?
Oh yeah. Pre is my first name, but no one actually knows that. Well, they're gonna know now because they've seen it in the video.
So where did Pre come from?
Pre is my first name. I've never liked it since I was younger.
Oh, really?
So I've always used.
You really are making your own rules, aren't you?
I've always used my second name.
I love that. I love this mum that's really standing up there and like just creating a space for young mums, because as someone who had her first child at 20, I definitely felt that this was probably the first area where I felt inadequate, where as a young mom, I felt inferior to all other moms. So welcome to Inadequate Mother, and let's really get into kind of your journey and your diary, essentially, because now you're the one going to be answering the questions and sharing. Are you ready?
Well,
this is the first one.
I just want to say thanks for having me. You know,
it's a form of therapy, I think. Before we start, let's get some background. How old are you, Cindy, darling, right now? And how old were you when you had your children?
Yeah. So I've just turned 22 actually 2 days ago.
Congratulations. So this is like your birthday first
podcast? This is my birthday week. So this is part of my birthday week.
Bless you.
I just turned 22. I had my first at 20 and I had my second at 21.
Amazing. So the same age as me. I was.
Yeah. So I literally had a 1-year-old and I was heavily pregnant at the same time.
Oh, my life.
I had them literally back to back.
Wow.
And I actually had my baby back to back. So my first baby was on my back.
Wow.
So that was like really painful.
Okay, so I'm assuming that neither were planned, essentially.
No, none of them were planned. They were both, I was shocked with both of them. Like they were both accidents.
Really?
Yeah.
But they're from the same father and you're together now raising these two wonderful children. I can't believe. So how old are they now?
So my youngest is actually technically not 5 months yet, because it's 5 months on the 16th. So it's currently 4 months. 4 months and something days. I can't do the maths right now. My mind's all over the place. Mm-hmm. And
I'm not surprised after having a baby 4 months ago, babe, and then now being on podcasts.
I know,
and launching a podcast.
It's crazy. I was recording from when he was literally like fresh out of the womb. But I mean, he's still fresh out of the womb now.
Really? So did you have this idea when you were pregnant and you were like, I want to do a podcast on this?
So I've always wanted to do a podcast, but I've thought of it, but not actually done it, if that makes sense. But after my experiences with both babies, I was like, no, there needs to be something out there for young mums.
Okay.
And I pursued it like not long after I had my second, if that makes sense, my youngest. I was like, there is not enough things out there. Like majority of the time, not all the time, but when you go on social media, there's a lot of negative connotations around young mums. And I don't like that. Now, if I'm going to be real, like there are bad things, you know, that happen, and traits, I should say, that young moms often have, even though everyone's each their own.
Such as what? When you say traits?
Well, for example, maturity levels. Now, I can't talk about everyone's maturity levels. Do you get what I'm saying? I can't. But I think it's very likely that a young mom's going to be, you know, less mature than an older mom.
Of course.
But this isn't always, I'm not saying it's always the case, but that's just one thing, because I feel like maturity, you know, you grow that maturity with experience. You don't you? And it's almost like you're still a child having a child.
Yeah. And
do you get what I mean?
Yeah. And there's definitely, I don't think I'd want this episode to be like, everyone have their babies young and like this. It's definitely hard. It's 100% hard. And I look back now and, you know, I've got friends that are now looking up to me going, how did you do that? You know, and also they're now trying to adapt their life in such a big way where they had all this freedom, and now in their 30s, they're 35 and they've got to give so much up to now start kids. They're really, some of them are really struggling, whereas you and I, we don't know any different.
Yeah. Definitely.
We didn't have a life established before kids. So as much as what you said, maturity is important, but also grounding and like into who you are. And when people ask me, what do you identify as? I'm mom. I've always been mom. It's a big part of your identity.
I feel like my plan for life is different. So not in terms of the things that I want to do and that I'm doing, but more like in terms of, okay, so I would have thought, okay, I was going to have fun and have... Like, I'm still having fun now, don't get it twisted. I'm maybe just not doing what a typical 21 or 22-year-old does. You know, some 21, 22-year-olds might be, I don't know, partying every weekend or every 3 days or doing this and doing that. My lifestyle is very much different. I'm a full-time mom to 2 young babies. But my plan is to, you know, grow up with them and teach them and stuff and mother them. But you see, when I'm like 35 plus, like that's when I'm going to like travel. That's when I'm going to have me time. I'm going to go on cruises and stuff like that. So that's my plan. That's what I want to do.
And you can do it with them. I just got back.
I can do it, but I don't know if I can do it.
I just got back from Ibiza with my 18-year-old.
Oh, that's nice.
And it was brilliant. And we were really, I mean, we went through a period where it was really hard. And I think part of that is because she saw me grow, essentially. She saw a version of me that children of, you know, young moms see, because they see them grow and that level of respect and stuff like that. We just had a little power dynamic, let's say, going on. And Ibiza, we just properly reconnected and it was amazing. So don't rule out travelling with your kids.
Yeah. I mean, I'll do it sometimes, but I just can't wait to have that. Like, I really undervalued that me time.
Yeah.
Until I had the kids. So it's like now when I get that time, even if it's half an hour, even if it's going to the shops for myself, it feels so therapeutic. Because sometimes you need that me time, don't you? But when you're a full-time mom to 2 young babies, it's like that me time is kind of restricted. But at the same time, I enjoy being with them, and I will never have enough, if that makes sense. Like they're a joy to my life. So yeah.
So when you found out you were pregnant, was it immediate joy? And like, were you just like, what was the first reaction?
Okay. So first of all, before I did my test, I was like, I'm being so silly. I'm just doing this test for the sake of it. I know that I'm not pregnant.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking in my head. Yeah, I was just like, I'm just being silly. It was the same day my period was due. I just thought, let me randomly go to a pharmacy and get a pregnancy test because I'm so random. Like, that's what happened. And I took it and I seen the 2 lines and my heart literally dropped. But I'm saying like it literally physically dropped. Like my heart dropped.
On the bathroom floor?
Yeah,
like...
literally it dropped.
You mean you were like struggling to breathe?
Yeah. Yeah, like I was like, oh my gosh.
So then how many did you do after that? Repeat tests?
You know what? I think
you trusted that one?
Yeah, I think it was like 2 in a box or something, and I just done them 2. But I know people do like loads of tests.
They're in denial.
I'm only come to realisation now. This is a thing. Like people do multiple tests. I'm just thinking to myself, you've seen those 2 lines, you've seen the 2 lines, but I don't know. Apparently, some tests are inaccurate.
Yeah, I think denial shows up in different ways in all of us.
I don't understand the science behind that at all.
So who did you tell first?
So I told the baby's dad first, and he was like, "You're joking." He was like, "You're joking, you're joking." He thought I was just pulling his leg, basically. And then I sent him a video of the test on Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, what was
then
his
I think
reaction?
he was like,
he supportive?
Yeah, he wasn't not supportive or negative or anything like that. He was like, I think he was with family at the time around his little cousins and stuff. He's thinking, why is Cindy playing this prank on me? But then he realised, okay, like, there's an actual baby. I think he was a bit like rah, like that was his reaction, rah. You probably hear it from your teen girls, like rah. Do you know what I'm saying?
One more teen says it calls me bro. That would not have been appropriate if you went, bro, are you sure you're pregnant?
Yeah.
So
yeah, and then I was just like, okay, cool. I think he came to see me afterwards or something like that. But he was absolutely fine. I think he was just in shock, like, oh my gosh, we're gonna have a baby. And then at the time, my parents were actually in Spain, but they were coming back the next day. And I literally messaged them saying, there is an emergency. I need to speak to you guys. At this point, I'm about to shit myself. Wait, am I allowed to swear?
Go swear.
Okay.
Do what you like.
I hope my dad doesn't see this. Because even at 22 years old, I don't want him to see me swear.
My dad's the same, 40. I'm turning 40 this year. And if I swear around him, you bet your bottom dollar I'm going to get a lecture. So I think, go on. But he will be watching this. I can guarantee True's going to watch this episode if you're on there being interviewed.
Wow.
But that's good that you've reached out to your parents and you obviously felt that you could talk to them. I think I know a lot of people that would, I mean, with me, I remember telling my mom, and even though my mom had me at 20 and I was 20 telling her, she cried because she cried from a place of knowing. And at the time I was really hurt that she'd cried, because I was mixed emotions, because you are, aren't you? You don't really know what to feel.
Yeah, 100%.
So, but I was really upset that her first emotion was just tears, like you ruin your life. But she was, now I'm obviously a lot older, I can know that was coming from a place of fear, a place from her trauma. So, but then surprisingly, my dad was the most understanding, and he was the one I was shaking at the thought, because he was a born again Christian. He literally believed in no sex before marriage, and I'd just gone completely the other way. So yeah, but then when I told him, he was amazing.
Yeah, it was like me. Like I was so scared to tell my parents, but I was like, this is the only thing I can think of doing. Do you know what I mean? I was so scared, but I remember them walking in and I had like 2 massive sweat patches. When I say it went from here all the way to the top of my hip, like the sweat patches were massive and they were round, literally. And I had a grey top on at the time as well. I've never seen so much sweat in my life.
Oh, babe.
I was so nervous and anxious that I just had these big wet patches.
Did they know you were nervous?
So I think that, to be honest, they came in and I was like, oh, I can't remember the exact words. I got something to tell you guys. Or
so they came round to yours, because I thought you lived with.
No,
I mean that's a young old age.
So I moved out when I was about 17 years old.
Okay, we'll get round to that as to why. But when they came into your yard, did they visit often? And like,
no, they don't really come. It's more like I go around them, if that makes sense, or around like family and stuff. So this was like, but I called them. I told them, can you come to me? I need to speak to you guys. Yeah. They'd just come off a plane and landed and come, because I was like, it's an emergency kind of thing. Yeah. So they sat in, and then I like obviously looked sad. Well, I was not sad, but I was a bit like disappointed in myself, I should say. I was disappointed, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, what are you guys gonna say? And my mum was like, what? She's like, you're pregnant. I was like, yeah. And then like my dad was like, what? That's not something. I can't remember exactly what he said, but something like, we thought like, you was going to tell us bad news, like you were sick or something. Like, we're relieved that it's not something, like you're sick or something like that. And I was thinking, at this point, I'm lost. I'm like, wait, is this my mum and dad? Because there's no way they reacted like this. Like, they were fine with it. Obviously, they explained, it's going to be hard. My dad was like, by the time you have the baby, you're going to be 20 years old and stuff. And obviously in our family, we've had loads of people who've had babies young and stuff. So it's like, he's just, he's kind of used to...
How old were they when they had the first child?
They would have been roughly around the same age. Yeah. So quite young. And so my dad was, kind of relieved that
it wasn't anything worse.
Yeah, it wasn't anything. But my second pregnancy, that was a different story though, because I actually didn't find out about my pregnancy, how far I was, until I was about 6 months.
Okay.
I just put it under the carpet, so...
What, you're in denial?
I just... Like, I knew that my period didn't come, so, like, something was going on, but I just imagined that I just wasn't pregnant, even though I was...
So you had no symptoms?
I had a few symptoms, but I didn't have a bump or anything.
Really?
Yeah. Like, some people, like, they'll be 6 months pregnant, and they'll be all... Like, I can literally conceal my whole pregnancy. I can go to 9 months, people won't know. If I wear loose clothing, like... I
did conceal my second pregnancy, actually, in a way, because I was working the door of a nightclub. Yeah. And at the time, I was working at a hospital. I was studying Monday to Friday at uni full-time. This is what I mean. Our stories are quite similar. Mm-hmm. You're at uni, aren't you? Yeah. And, so my weekend job doing the door of Bamboo, it was... awful job that I'd done for 5 years. It was cash. I needed the money, and if I didn't want to tell anyone because I would lose that job, so I used to wear this cape coat. I didn't go into the club. I was always surrounded by bouncers, and I kind of told the bouncers, and I was just like, you need to just make sure I'm okay. And this one time, the bouncer threw someone out the club who I hadn't told, and I went, stop throwing people out the doors, like it was in the stairs. I don't know if you've been the stairs. And they threw this person out and it nearly got me. And I was like, and then I told my boss at 6 months, I was in this office and I just went, I've got something to tell you. And pulled my cape coat out and went, and I was massive. Nah. I'm talking like out. I was like out here and I was like, I'm about to give birth.
And what did he say?
He was like, when are you gonna stop? Yeah. He basically let me work till I was just about a few weeks before I gave birth.
That is crazy.
Shit, I ran such a tight ship on the door that if I'd have took time, if he'd lost me, he would have lost control of his door. He was just like, please just work as long as you can. So yeah, people don't always have our reactions.
Health and safety.
No, he was not. He was thinking of himself. And yeah, people don't always react the way I think we.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing about pregnancy. But I think like my second one, because it was like, okay, you had your first one, cool, yeah, you know, you didn't make the best decision, but we're supporting you and stuff. But then my second one, everyone was kind of like, okay, now you're moving dumb. Like, why have you?
Where was the contraception?
Why, like, really? Cindy,
is that how you felt? So
is that how I felt?
Did you feel like you were moving dumb? Because again, this is called Inadequate Mother because it's here to address the fact that we're all inadequate in so many ways. We all make mistakes. It's part of life. It's just how we view them, how we talk about them, because they affect how we talk about ourselves, and that ultimately affects us as mums. So how were you talking to yourself at that point?
I just felt really down, I'll be honest. I felt really depressed, and I was just like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? But also the other side of me was like, well, you know, you've given birth to one and you're looking after one so far and he's 1 year old and you've managed to get through it, even though you probably at first thought like, how am I going to do this? Because I definitely wasn't confident. So yeah, I just kind of carried on with it and was just like, you know, I'll find a way. And having both babies, especially close together, and just having babies young has really taught me a lot. Like, you can do anything that you put your mind to. But it's also important for me that I put that mentality in other aspects of life. So it doesn't mean that I now go and have a baby this year, next year, and the year after, and the year after, and the year after. But also other parts of life, such as studying, such as my career, such as my self-development, such as, you know, when I'm feeding myself certain things and reading things and stuff like that, like putting my mind to that as well, whatever I want to achieve. Do you get what I mean? So I've learned, you know what, like that does exist. Like, you can put your mind to things and get through things. And yeah.
I mean, you could never call your child a mistake. No. And we can never, ever, because there's no way I would ever say that a choice to get pregnant or an accident or whatever will ever be a mistake, because it's just a chapter of your journey. But acting in maybe a way that you didn't mean to or intentionally go for, but it is
well, that's the reality. Like, I never ever planned any of my babies. Like, I wasn't expecting to be a mom of two kids at 22, but that's just what happens. I guess that was the plan, wasn't it? And at the time I didn't understand it, like when I was pregnant and when I'm fine, but now I do. They've taught me so much, they've helped me develop a lot, and they're now like really pushing me. Like, I feel like I'm working way harder than I would have if I didn't have them, if that makes sense.
I can very much relate to that. You've got a sense of, I think, significance, acceptance, maybe not acceptance, because that's when we're talking about how society accepts younger mums, but in terms of significance and purpose, that's what kids give women straight away, doesn't it? They give them a sense of a way of forming their identity, I think, and it sounds like that's what's happening now. You're becoming who you were meant to be. Yeah,
and I'm still in the process of it as we speak. I'm in very early stages. I'm at the beginning of my journey.
How old's your second baby?
So I've got a baby which is going to be 5 months.
Yeah.
Wait, but hold on.
I have to get you to repeat this again.
October, November, December.
So you started your podcast, you launched your podcast when?
So baby was about 3 months old.
So baby was 3 months old and you decided, I want to create a podcast. I haven't just got a 3 month old, I've got a 1 year old and a 3 month old. But you know what, I can, as much as I'm like, wow, and I'm so proud of you, and this is why I wanted you on the episode for my Mother's Day week. I also know that this is going to be a big therapy for you. It's going to be a way of life, because as someone who's just really clung to conversation, blogging, social media, and that's been almost my community. Because if there's one thing that makes us inadequate, it's the lack of community that exists in society. We were not meant to be doing it as like singular as we are, even with married couples, in terms of the economic structures of how we work and everything. Community is massive, and if you can find it in whichever way you can, and podcasting might just be it, I just feel like that's going to be a massive thing. And also you're doing something brilliant for other mums. Yeah,
and I'm really grateful, and I'm really glad that I have started it, even though I started it very early, in early stages, in terms of like my son, you know, was only 3 months old, but I've made so much amazing connections so far, and it's like everyone who's come on the pod and everyone that I've connected with,
What feedback have you had from, is any young
all
mums?
I've had is literally, this is going to do well, this is going to do well, this is so needed, this is so needed.
Young mums have reached out.
Yeah, there's nothing out here like that. Like, that's all I've heard, because it's obviously tailored specifically to young mums, but also mums that have had babies young as well, because they also have an experience that they can share and help us as young mums, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think with me, because... yeah, like you said, I have like almost, that's why I called it Inadequate Mother, because I was constantly told. So my kids are really academic and really successful. My oldest is at like a grammar school. They're both at grammar school.
Yeah.
The oldest is now head girl. She's just smashed everything: sports, drama, art. She looks like a bloody runway model. So like people are like a bit, and they've always been like that. Or both my girls are quite, So then I've always got this, and it was almost like a get out of jail card. Like, although I'm young, look at my kids.
Yeah.
And they would go, they're real credit to you.
Yeah.
Or, you know, if I was clever enough to realise, have you heard of Highclere? So Highclere was a private school, and they had a nursery attached. And because I got a lot of my childcare costs covered because I was a uni student, I realised, well, if it's going to be covered by uni, I might as well put them in a good one. So I went to this private school that had a nursery attached, and it had like a preschool, and they had those cute little caps and uniforms. But it was all kind of like wealthy parents there that had money and stuff.
You're giving me ideas now.
Yeah. That's this, honestly.
We might have to speak about this off the podcast.
This is what I'm saying. So like that nursery attached to the private school was a really it was a well-structured place for my child to go. And I was like, you know, but I was around mums that were wealthy, married, and I would always be getting this kind of, for you bringing them here. Oh, bless you. Aren't you doing well?
Yeah.
Despite being young. And like now, even to this day, it would be, they're a real credit to you. We've got to stop that, first of all. Like, our kids and their achievements are a credit to how we are as mothers. Like, it shouldn't be like that. And how we talk to ourselves shouldn't be linked to how much success our kids are doing and stuff like that. So what is it like you want to achieve? I know you're at uni. Yeah. That's amazing.
So I want to, you know, finish my degree. I'm currently studying healthcare management. That's, to be honest, I want to eventually like make my revenue and stuff off, you know, social media and stuff and in the creative industry, but also I want to have my qualification really as a backup. You know, because this takes a lot of time, number one. You don't know when it's actually going to happen. It can happen at any point where you start generating the revenue and stuff like that. Regardless whether I generate revenue off it or not, I'm going to keep going because it's something that I really enjoy and I have a passion for and it's in my heart. So I will, you know, be carrying on with that. But yeah, I'm just going to hopefully, you know, God willing, finish my degree. And I want to kind of build myself and get myself to a point where I am able to just pick up my suitcase and go. Do you get what I mean? And obviously it's not going to happen anytime soon because the babies are still very, very young. But when they do get, you know, older and stuff, I want to be able to just travel the world. I obviously have travelled a few times and I love going on holiday, but I want to be able to do it like, you know, loads and loads.
What job do you want to do after your degree then? In terms of, you've got the podcast, obviously if you could work full time as a podcast, amazing, but you know, there's only so much talking you can do.
100%. So I'm doing healthcare management at the moment, and I feel like...
What made you choose that?
So I feel like in the NHS / healthcare industry, you know, obviously NHS being part of the healthcare industry, a major part, I should say, a lot of people get neglected and they get mistreated, and sometimes that leads to deaths, that leads to illness becoming worse. I've seen too much things. I've literally seen things on social media actually in the last week of... patients being mistreated and not looked after properly in care homes. So what I essentially want to do with my healthcare management degree, is I don't know exactly what job I'm going to go into, but want to go into a management role basically, or potentially, I don't know, manage a care home or something like that. And I want to make that difference. So I want to be over the top with management, if that makes sense, and make sure that these patients are getting cared for like they're my own, like it's my grandparent, for example, like it's my mom. Because I feel like a lot of people work in the industry, but they don't treat it like that. They're like, cool, this is my job. I got to do this, got to do that, I'm going home. I get, you're going to go home. But it's quite sensitive, isn't it, when it comes to especially caring for the elderly as well. And there's just too much. Like I actually, when I was with my first pregnancy, it's actually a funny story, but long story short, I went to do a care shift. So you know how you have like care assistants. I was doing agency at the time, agency work, and I literally, I had to, do the cleaning, I should say. I had to clean one of the patients in the care home. I was traumatized. I was so traumatized. But at the time, I didn't know, obviously, that I was pregnant. So I vomited straight away. But I didn't take that as a sign of pregnancy. And this happened not long before. I just smelled something. I was like, no, I can't do this. And I swear to God, my shift started at 9. I left at 10. I just quit. I was like, no, I can't do this.
I worked at a hospital for 12 years.
Yeah, so you know what it's like.
The stuff that I saw in the hospital. I remember shaking dead bodies and saying, do you want tea? 2 sugars? Because back then that was my job. Like when I was 16, they used to let you be a ward hostess and give out the food and the tea and the coffee. And on a Sunday it was double time. So that saved me as a single mum because it was double time. So she used to leave the club door at 2 a.m. and be on the hospital ward at 7 a.m. And I was the bitch on the door with the clipboard and high heels telling these people that were drunk that couldn't come in, and then in the morning I'd see them in A&E getting,
That's crazy.
Because and then I'd have a hairnet on and an apron.
That's crazy.
Scrubbing dishes and mopping floors, and then they were like, "You were in the club last night." That's how much you graft for your kids.
No, honestly, you do. I feel like I grafted a lot in my pregnancy, especially with my first. My second was a bit different, but my first, I worked like up to 4 weeks until I gave birth. I remember literally, because I was doing call handling. I was working for BT at the time, actually, and I was doing about just over 40 hours a week.
Wow.
And I was heavily pregnant, but luckily I was working from home, which was a
How old
pleasure.
were you then?
So I was 19 at the time.
So you were doing a quite a big woman job, really.
Yeah, I actually... So, to be honest, a lot of work that I've done has been agency. I've never really, stuck in a job for years, which is something that I do need to do, like, moving forward. But I've just kind of obviously gained experience in different departments. So, for COVID, I worked on the COVID-19 vaccination line,
So, you've had to have big woman jobs because you moved out at
what age? So it's always been like, I need to survive, don't I? So...
So, what made you move out at what age?
So, 17.
17?
Yeah.
Okay.
Really young.
That is young.
Yeah. So it was when
I
look back.
How does someone move out at 17 in this economy?
Okay. Well, I'm going to tell you a funny story, and you're going to be like, "This girl is absolutely crazy."
Go on then.
So So long story short, the reason why I moved out was for a very, very dumb reason. I just didn't like the rules. I didn't. I was just a typical teenager. I didn't like the rules. Mum and dad telling me I have to come in at a certain time and this and that, and then me and my parents obviously were going back and forth and stuff, just about silly things, some big things, some small. It was just a mess. I was a typical teenager, but quite a naughty teenager. I'm not going to sit here and lie. I was quite naughty. And then one day, I think me and my dad, like, I'm so sorry, Dad, you're going to see this. But yeah, you're going to see this.
It's okay. Go on. He's a
me and
big
my
man.
dad was, I think was arguing about the bins or something like that. Like, it's ridiculous.
You snapped.
Yeah, it was arguing about the bins, and then it went into other things. So I think I forgot to take the bins out, and I went out the night before, and I came in late and I didn't take the bins out. So it now meant that my family had to live with the bins for the 2 weeks that were full to the top.
That's a problem.
Yeah. So long story short, I moved out. No, but yeah, that happened.
Oh,
and I just got like a paycheck from work. I was all like, oh yeah, I got my little £400. Yeah. I'm going to survive. I'm going to be able to move out. I'm going to be able to buy a house and furnish it with that £400. No, that is the way I was moving. Like, this £400 is like the most money I can ever get in life. I was so confident. Like, that £400 made me confident that I moved out.
Oh, babe. Oh, and did your parents just go, okay.
Like,
I love that.
I just packed my stuff. And, like, sometimes, I haven't actually experienced this with my sons because obviously they're still very young. But, do you ever get moments where you tell your daughter, okay, just do that or do this or do that, but you don't actually mean it? Or if you get, like, in an argument, I mean it.
You've got to there's certain, I need to learn to be more like that. I respect your parents for saying that, whereas I'd be like, no, because my fears and my triggers and my emotions can be a lot sometimes, where I'll focus more on them, whereas I know your dad and he can be very calm and logical, and you know, I need to be like that a bit more and not project and just be like, okay, because you are on your own journey and you do need to learn.
You know what I think as well, with my parents, they had told me so much, don't do this, don't do that.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? They tried to guide me and protect me for years, like literally, you know, like typical teenage life and stuff. And it comes to a point where there's only so much like you can do, I guess. And if your child's not listening, your child's not listening. I mean, you can keep talking to them, but do you
I
get
feel
what
like
I'm
you're
saying?
going to help a lot of teenage
Yeah, no, it's the truth.
mums of teenagers.
Honestly, it's the worst mistake I made, but it's not that bad at the same time. So the position that I'm in now, in terms of I'm able to provide for my kids, now I have my own place. Now we all live together. Do you get what I mean? And but it has been a journey. It really has. And there has been times when I've had nowhere to stay. There's been places that I've gone to and I've been like, I can't stay here.
Wow.
Like, it's been.
And
like,
your parents just they just said you've just got to.
They never said I had to.
Were you like being stubborn, basically?
Yeah, I was being stubborn.
So, listening to you talk about how your mums and dad, you know, did so much, guided you so much. I mean, because I know them, so I know that they're really good parents. I mean, they've been together forever, haven't they? And you know, and to hear you say there's only so much a parent can do. If the child, if your teenagers isn't listening, I think is helping a lot of mums kind of with that inadequate feeling that you feel, because you have this fear that, did I not do something? Should I have not done this? Should I have said this? You know, but ultimately we are on our own journey. We're all just making our own choices and how we deal with it. And you're obviously doing really well now, because you've just bloody started a podcast when you've popped out a baby. Not a lot of people would do that.
I know, it sounds mad, but I've always been that person. Like, I remember in college, I was 16 at the time. I was making like £400 a week, literally off drinks. Like, I was making drinks at home. I've always been like an entrepreneur, if that makes sense.
Daddy's daughter.
Yeah, I went online, I printed some stickers, I put CP juice, Cindy Powell juice, and I started to make fruit punch, and I would literally pack them in my backpack, make my way to college. I'd have a little tin as well for my coins and stuff, and I was selling them. It was all over social media. I had delivery drivers and everything. Like, I went all out.
Oh, babe.
But you know what's crazy?
What?
The money would just go, like, I was just spending it. So, I was so dumb at the time and so like oblivious. Like, I was getting all this money and spending it as it was coming, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but look at you learning and like knowing that you know what you can do. You just know what you need to fix, not spend. And having kids will make you
definitely
not spend. If there's one thing I can say to young mums, is just keep your cash in the bank, because that will be your mental health. Like my mom, I lost her to alcoholism because she was a single mom. She had me at 20. She had 2 teenage girls, and I think watching that spiral out of control in terms of her mental well-being put me in this mindset of, I'm not going to go down that road. I'm going to be a successful single young mom. But your mental well-being is everything, and how you grow and maintain that daily. Because I've been a mum now for 19 years coming up, and I'm still crashing in terms of learning about myself, because your kids are teaching you
definitely
about you, and that doesn't stop. Addiction and how you deal with the emotions involved. So you have mentioned that you have got experiences with addiction.
Yeah.
So go on, tell me about that.
So I used to be addicted to cannabis. I used to smoke it literally like full time.
When did you start?
I started smoking it when I moved out.
Okay.
Yeah, I started smoking it when I moved out. So before I moved out, like, I had a lot of friends and people around me that used to smoke, but I never smoked. Like, my parents like would say literally like, "Nah, Cindy wouldn't smoke." I was that person. Like, I would never smoke. Like, someone could put it on their life. Like, I wasn't going to smoke.
Quiet once you got to watch, you know, in the naughty behaviour.
I literally I was like, I could put it on my own life that I wouldn't smoke, but you just never know with certain things, like, especially when you're in teenager life and stuff. But yeah, anyways, obviously I moved out, and the first time I tried it, I couldn't feel my legs. Like, I was walking down the stairs, I couldn't feel my legs. I was in this world for literally like hours. That was a really bad experience, but it clearly wasn't traumatizing enough to make me stop, because I then went and smoked it pretty much for 2 years. That takes me to when I was about 19 years old. So I would wake up and I would smoke cannabis. I would smoke cannabis and smoke myself to sleep. I would smoke it pretty much all day. but I was still working at the same time. But that was like, you know how you eat and you snack and stuff? Like those were my meals and my snacks. I was still eating, but I was doing it that often, if that makes
So
sense.
what was it about the cannabis that made you do it so much?
It was addictive. Like, okay, you obviously...
People say it's not addictive, don't they?
Yeah, for me, it was addictive, though, because I kept going to it, but it wasn't really doing me any good. Like, I had a feeling, and then the feeling would go after a few hours, if that makes sense.
So you had a feeling that you wanted to suppress or numb or get rid of?
Yeah, it's almost like it put me in another world. So it took me away from the reality and put me in another world.
Okay, so what was it about your reality, you think, that the cannabis...
So, I wouldn't say I was trying to escape anything, but it was just the feeling. Like, the feeling for me was just, it was just soothing. So even just like simple things like, okay, cool, I need to be at work at this time, I need to do this, I need to do my shopping. Obviously I didn't have the kids, so I didn't have like loads and loads to do, but just, you know, the everyday. And then obviously the financial side as well. I think, okay, I need to pay this, I need to pay that. I was still very young at the time.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that I didn't know. Do you get what I mean? I was doing this all by myself.
So
then this big mistake of me moving out, and the reality of adulting, like what I set myself up for by moving out. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, that is the reality. Like, that was what I was trying to just... And then also social pressures of... Not pressures, because it wasn't like, oh my gosh, I feel like I need to smoke because of this person around me. But it was more like, okay, everyone's smoking, I'm going to smoke too. And it didn't seem like that much of a big issue because everyone was doing it around me anyways, if that makes sense.
Do you think the fact that you had your own place and there was a yard for everyone to come round, to chill, there was, you know, that place.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that you had people around and you kind of, you know what I mean? Like, when you're at that age, typically it's like, oh, mum, can I have friends around? You didn't have that. You had your own place.
Yeah.
So do you think that the more freedom just meant you just got down that road?
I wouldn't say it was more freedom, but me moving out in the first place definitely exposed me to smoking, if that makes sense. Because, like, I was pretty much by myself 24/7. It's not like I was going back home. So it's not like I'd go back home, like, to my family, high or anything like that. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and I was, to be honest, the interesting thing is I smoked a lot when I was alone, if that makes sense. Like, I would obviously have, like, my friends over and, like, my boyfriend would come round as well. But a lot of the time in the week, you know, people have college, people have university, people have work and stuff. So the reality is only really weekends that I'll do activities and things like that or link up with the friends. So in the week, like before work, after work, I was smoking. I was, you know, pretty much at home by myself. So
alone feeling.
Yeah, and I didn't mind. Like, that was just what I'd done alone. I smoked and I'd wake up and I'd have a feeling like, oh, I need to smoke.
But do you think the alone feeling, because I always reflect on why my mum drank, and I've always concluded it down to the alone feeling that she had because she was a single mum and she was alone a lot. Would you say that maybe managing that, being alone, and I think teenagers do, I think we are operating in a world where we're so disconnected and we're just connecting digitally so much, like face-to-face interaction. Like, some teenagers don't even know how to verbally communicate with one another and stuff. Do you think maybe that was your way of dealing with kind of
100%. Like, that for me, that wasn't like, if I had a daughter that was my age at the time, like, I wouldn't want them to do that because I just don't think it's healthy at all. I really don't, especially when you're in the process of building something. It's not like, oh, you know, I was studying at the time and stuff. So then, or like in a stable job, if that makes sense. So it then meant I moved out, I started smoking cannabis. I'm then looking for a job. I start a job, and then my job is literally to survive so I can put food in my belly and stuff like that. Do you get what I mean? So now I'm just stressed about so much. I think it's the wrong approach. Yeah. It definitely is. And that added to me smoking loads of cannabis, if that makes sense.
I think we can talk, I mean, there's talk about it being legalised. I've got loads of friends that, you know, smoke it. I've got friends that, you know, have been terminally ill that have smoked it. And there's differences, isn't there, in how you use it. And I think it's just governed because we're not that clever when it comes to being free for choice and how we use things. Because if you're emotionally struggling, then it might not be the best thing to do because you've got to go through those emotional adjustments to develop the resilience, to develop the maturity and the understanding of yourself. Because if you did anything that you consume, and it might be gym, high levels of addiction to gym because you're pumping caffeine and like dopamine when you're exercising. anything that you consume that adjusts a substance that adjusts you emotionally is delaying that emotional development.
Yeah.
So, but if that emotional development is causing a mental health issue such as like bipolar or schizophrenia, and and you're all over the place, and I can kind of understand why someone is managing really extreme symptoms. I think it's just
I was kind of lucky in that sense.
Do you have friends that still smoke it? And
to be honest, I don't really. I have like a few friends that I speak to and I see here and there, but as I've been going through motherhood and stuff, and things have really changed. I just really kind of keep myself to myself. I have a few people that I speak to, and I'm mainly just around family. Like, my lifestyle has changed a lot, but I am very much aware of people who smoke cannabis heavily and it affects them really bad.
Yeah.
Especially your mental health state as well. The way you interact with others and stuff like that. In terms of, you can get agitated quite quick as well. Like, it's just not healthy, but it affects everyone obviously in different ways. And when you're already dealing with really bad things, the cannabis, it makes it worse. You know what I mean? And people think, oh yeah, it's going to soothe me, but it's going to give you a feeling there and then that's it. The feeling's gone and you're back to reality.
Yeah. And do you know what I don't think's talked about much in terms of cannabis is it's the only drug that affects your appetite. And I remember being like 12 years at the hospital, working wards on hospital, watching multiple people die and be ill and stuff.
Yeah.
And the one, and because I was giving out the food, the one determinant of how that person was dying, either comfortably, peacefully, whatever, was whether they had an appetite. Old people that have appetites tend to do okay. But if you lose that appetite, that love for eating, or that, but there's no pill that can make you eat. But like, and that I just think that it messes with that thing that's really important. Appetite is really important.
Do you think it increases or decreases?
Well, it doesn't.
After?
It does to different people, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, like for me, okay, the funny thing is, like, I would get something called the munchies. I'm not sure. The munchies, yeah. So there'll be times where, like, okay, I'm going to order loads of food or I'm going to eat loads. Well, I actually went down a few sizes. I was a size 6.
Okay.
So I was originally a size 10 and I went to a size 6, and the more cannabis I was smoking, the more weight I was losing. But again, everyone's body reacts different. That's just how my body
that
decided
psychologically
to
affected your appetite.
It did, yeah.
And people think that, oh, I'm going to eat more, but that's not actually the case, because I know so many people that lose weight on cannabis.
It was
and
really
I think it's we're supposed to, as humans, we're supposed to know what we need to put in our body. We're supposed to, it's like what I hate reading dates on food and stuff. I'm supposed to be able to smell that food, know if it's bad or not, know if it's going to give me nutrition.
Yeah.
We're supposed to connect to our food. So weed is something that will tell you I need to eat shit. How can that be?
It's crazy.
That's a bad thing.
No, I haven't actually deeped it, but that's crazy. Like, you don't
eat healthy
you don't
shit.
smoke a spliff and be like,
have a salad.
I want a salad. Do you get what I mean? Like,
it's basically lying to your body. It's letting your brain lie to your body.
Yeah.
I need to eat a cake. That's it's all well and good laughing at that, but that's you disconnecting to something really fundamental and what's going to be the foundations of your health.
Yeah.
So these kind of things, I get that, like, people are 420 pro, like,
oh yeah,
but come on.
No,
let's just keep it light. And I've done, and you know what, I took my daughter to Amsterdam.
Yeah.
And I let her, taste. I wanted her to see the culture that's there, and the thing, and be open.
Yeah.
Did you ever disclose to your parents that you were?
I never actually sat down and have a conversation with them when I was younger, but they kind of knew. You just know something about, like. Do you ever have those? I don't know if you have those moments, like they kind of just knew that I smoked.
I let my daughter have quite a few parties, just to kind of, because I worked in the nightclub scene, I saw the difference of kids that had been sheltered and it was their first kind of time having alcohol, and like how that went down compared to kids that had got it out of their systems before they were 18 and were going out and things like that. So for me, them drinking and doing things in the safe environment was really important. So yeah, I let her throw some parties. 85 people turned up in my garden. I was like, oh my God.
Did you manage this on your own?
On my own with my sister. We were doing bad cop, good cop. You know, like on that Bad Boys, is it Bad Boys film with Will Smith and you know when they do bad cop?
Yeah,
and
I know about the what is it called? The
guy comes to the door and they're like joking about the gun and stuff or whatever. But yeah, my sister was good cop, going around with little shots, going, hey guys, and I was like bad cop. And then one of the lads had brought some cannabis, and we were like, I could smell it, and everyone was like, we can't have that here, no way. And we brought him in the kitchen and we were interrogating him. He just completely went into a trip and like started like tripping because we were just doing good cop, bad cop. He was really entertaining for me. But I learned a lot about teenagers in those years. I think she got it out of system. I do, I think. So what advice would you have for mums of teenagers that want to stay connected? And like, I know you said there's nothing your parents could have done to kind of help guide you. I mean, kids really do need to make their own mistakes. But like in terms of helping a kid through those mistakes, how would you?
It's crazy actually because of what you just spoke about, but I think it's really important to create a space where your kid can be open with you and can say, it might sound crazy, Mum, I did smoke this, or Mum, I did go to this place. I know you said I couldn't go there, but I did go. I'm not saying you'd be okay with it, but do you get what I'm saying? Like having that space, because I feel like sometimes, but I guess every parent's different, but I've got like a lot of friends in the past like that had very, very strict parents, and they were literally like, they had to do the most just to like, for example, go to a party or something like that, and it was really complicated. Like they couldn't even meet up with their friends. They had to say, oh, I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that, and that creates like a blockage, if that makes sense.
Lies
it creates lies. To be honest, at some point I did say to my parents like I was going somewhere else and I wasn't, but they weren't like really, really strict. When I look back at things, they were quite reasonable. It's just that I wanted everything my way. I wanted to do whatever I want to do, that kind of thing. Do you get what I mean? But you can't do that when you're 13, 14, 15. You can't do that. And the thing is with me, my parents, it was opposite to like with my siblings. My parents gave me loads of freedom at 13. I was their first teenager. Right. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
I had loads of freedom. And then they actually became more strict when I was like 14, 15, because they realised, okay, now you're abusing your freedom. You're doing this, you're doing that, you're going there, you're going there. You're out every day. I remember summertime, like I was literally out every single day. Every single day I was out. So, but that's because their freedom they gave me so young, if that makes sense. Okay. So there's kind of like, you know, like a balance. But I would definitely say creating that space, number one. And also, like, to a teenager, so to someone that's 15, 16 watching this, falling in love with yourself as well is, I feel like, is really important. Like that self-love, that self-identity, finding things that you like to do with yourself. Because I didn't really have that. I didn't know that was a thing. Like, do you get what I mean? Like, I wasn't thinking, oh yeah, I need to look into my self-love, or I need to find activities.
It's kind of a cringy thing to say now, isn't it? Like, everyone's saying it, but then you go, okay, how? Like, how did you do that?
Yeah, and at like 14, 15, I wasn't thinking that. I was pretty immature compared to now. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think you've had to rush it a little bit as well because of being a mom, and I think we
100%.
do. I think, you know, I look at my daughter and I think, you know, if she had a baby, like, she would be amazing because overnight, like I did, she'd do the things she needs to do. But if you don't have that pressure and you don't need to, then, you know.
I'm going to be like, fuck it.
Yeah. And I think sometimes I have to remind myself of that. It's like when I look at her and I'm like, at your age, why can't you handle this? Like, why are you reacting like this? Like, that's minor. Like, and you have to kind of remind yourself, I had to grow up fast. I had to find myself fast. So, you know, I don't think we need to do that in a rush. I don't think women should rush it as much, and that's why it's called inadequate mothers, because it's okay to be inadequate. Inadequacy and not being good at things and making mistakes means you're there to learn, and that's okay, as long as it's not at the massive detriment to your child. Your child's ultimately learning as well. But yeah, I think, oh gosh, I
feel like, I don't know, like my children have really comforted me.
Yeah.
You know, like you go through little things here and there, and you know, times when you feel like down. Obviously, you have really happy moments, you feel down, but it's like no matter what, they're there. Do you get what I mean? That was the same with my first son as well. Like, because I was still, even
Do
though
you
I
get
turned 20,
babysitters, and do your mum and dad babysit much?
yeah, to be honest, I have a lot of support and I'm really grateful. Like, I try not to abuse it. So I only really ask for the help if I need it. Do you get what I mean? But I have a lot of support when it comes to the boys. So I've had like a lot of people come to me and say, you know, well, you've had it quite easy, or it's not as bad as, you know. But again, you guys don't really, you only see what you see on the outside. I could be battling with other things. Do you get what I'm saying?
Don't ever let anyone tell you what your journey is because someone else might have it hard. I had someone on social media telling me off because I call myself a single mom and the dad's around. Like, I was like, okay. So now I find myself saying solo mom, and then she's like, no, you're a co-parent mom. I'm like, there's nothing about my situation. So don't let anyone tell you what you call yourself. Like, honestly, we need to uplift one another, and your situation can be great one day and it can be really shit the other.
That's the reality though. That's what happens. Like, not everything is pitch perfect.
Yeah, it's not like, oh, I've survived this and now life's great. And it's just everybody's on their own journey, and you've all got your own stories to share, some bad, some good. But we all can learn from one another. We just have to keep things open. What are the things you've learned from the podcast in terms of connecting with loads of young mums?
I've learned that I'm not alone. So, like, a lot of people who've come, we've basically got the same stories.
That's
do you get
amazing.
what I mean? So I've learned that. Also, like, there are things that do happen. Because at the time, when I'm going through certain things, or I feel down, I feel crazy, sometimes I'll literally just stand in the room, whether it's the living room, the bedroom, just scream. Like, I'm just like, this is too much. There's too much going on. Yeah. But this is the reality. Like, things, you know, like, I feel like even, okay, so on social media, you'll have like people who have like bad perspectives and stuff on young moms. And then also there'll be these TikToks I'll come across and everything's perfect, like, but that's not the reality. Do you get what I mean? That's another thing I've realised. Okay, because sometimes I'll be at home and I'll be looking around, so I'll be like, oh my gosh, it actually looks like, what's the word?
Squatters.
It's like, okay,
a bomb's gone off.
Yeah. There's like that going on, this going on.
But
like.
that's every mum, young or old.
Yeah, but I'm like, okay, so this is an actual thing, and that's why the podcast is there, so we can speak about these things, because I feel like people conceal too much on social media.
I think people conceal too much in life, darling. Community. If you think about what community looked like, hundreds of years ago, you looked in people's houses. Now you do not know what's going on in people's houses unless what they choose to show you on social media. And we're all pretending. And that's one of the things my life coach said to me once when I reached out. I was going through a really bad time with my kids, and I was massively being triggered. And he's a bit of a counsellor, but he was just like, Hayley, you're not alone. Every single family is pretending. We're all pretending that we're okay, but we're not. And it's just having that openness. And the wonderful thing about being a young mom is that you're almost a blank canvas, and you can make those rules for yourself, i.e. the house is a mess, but that's okay. I don't need to keep up with all my friends or my peers because none of them have got kids. So I'm not trying to keep up with the Joneses. I'm not trying to have this perfect house. This is just my house. And some women really physically and emotionally struggle with that, not everything being perfect. I think I was just like, I had to choose my battles. Having a tidy house was not the battle I could choose. It was just paying the bills.
You learn as time goes, doesn't it? Because the reality is you're going to have messy moments, and when they're very young as well, they're very messy, and it's not going to be tidy 24/7. That is the reality. I think there's a lot of judgment as well on social media, especially TikTok. Like, I'll see a lot of mom content and stuff. I'm not sure if you've seen loads of mom content. Like people, I don't know, cleaning their bathroom or this and that, or doing this for the babies and stuff. I see a lot. And then, I don't know, there'll be something, there'll be like a towel on the floor or something, and literally everyone in the comments is sending, oh my gosh, why has she got a towel? Or she needs to fix up this. Or I just think this stuff is,
That's really toxic. People see my cupboard doors open and have been telling me, you've got ADHD. Because everything's open. Like, I don't close cupboards. I don't know why. I never have. But you just make your own rules. And honestly, negative comments like that, if you are going to go into media, you really need to be thick-skinned and know yourself well.
That's something I've learned. There's going to be trolls out there. There's going to be people that are going to say all types of things. But for me, my main thing is, as long as I'm doing what I feel like my purpose is. So my purpose is to obviously influence other young moms. and to be a good example.
Do you know what helps me if I
Yeah.
get a negative comment? I try and imagine that person having some kind of learning difficulty. I know that sounds funny,
Yeah.
but that's the case.
Yeah.
You know, you might have, I don't know if you've got experience working with, you know, you said you were a support worker or a care worker, but
I was a care worker. I've got experience though as a housing support worker.
Yeah.
So I've worked
with a lot of people with like mental health, learning difficulties, and they could easily put a stupid comment on social media. And if that person was stood in front of me, I'd, you know, do a little giggle and roll my eyes and they said something really offensive or rude. It would be like, they've got a learning difficulty. So that's how you don't know who that person is. You don't know their story. You don't know. It's a reflection of them saying something really stupid. And the more emotion I allow that to happen in me off the back of it is just the energy I'm giving away to somebody that I don't even like to say, oh, they're not worth it. Because I wouldn't say that to someone with a learning difficulty. Would I? I would say, oh, it's a shame that they can't see things differently. So I think that helps me. As someone that really, really appreciated my partner's mum and the support she gave me, because she was always there every weekend. I got to go out still. I got to travel and have my little holidays, my little me times. I knew she'd be like that. So when it comes to, you know, choosing to, you know, have a child, it was very much linked to that, knowing that she was there and knowing, because I'd never really had that mother support from my mum. Is there like a perfect, but then there was times where it was too much. Do you know what I mean? Like there was this, like, I'm the mum. Like, do you know what I mean? She was very, she had her ways of doing things, and I very much had to at times say, no, I'm the mum, I'm doing this. And even like Christmas Day dinner, like, is there a day where you think you're going to have Christmas dinner at yours and things like that? And is there a way that a mum can just, like a perfect balance of support, but then not too much? And like, what is it advice would you give
advice,
mums?
this is again based on my personal experience. I feel like you can never have too much support. That's one thing I would say, because motherhood isn't easy, and there's going to be a lot of things that you don't know and a lot of things that you need to learn. Just in terms of yourself, because number one, you're having a baby very, very young. Do you get what I mean? There's a lot of things you haven't experienced, but in terms of obviously the baby, but also to be verbal but respectful at the same time.
That's good.
Don't conceal things, because one thing I've learned is in whatever aspect of life, when you conceal things, it makes what you're concealing worse. So
mothers, though, what can they do to...
What can mothers do for their children?
Help, children not conceal things? Like, what do you think? Because I know my daughter doesn't tell me. I mean, she tells me all the time, you should be so grateful I talk to you. And I'm really confused by that, because I'm like, you talk to me, surely that's a good thing, and you're benefiting from being able to, like...
It's being approachable, though. But see, that may be the norm, for example, I feel like for you, but it's being approachable. So
she said all her friends don't say half and stuff to them.
It's probably because their parents are not approachable.
So that's what it is.
Being approachable. Like, again, I know I mentioned this earlier, but making sure that you have that space and, you know, you're making your child feel comfortable so they can talk. And maybe that's speaking to your child about a topic that you wouldn't normally talk about. So just casually asking them, you know, like your body language, your tone, all these things really make a difference. And they're either going to put your child at ease and allow them to feel comfortable to talk about it, or they're going to make them feel like, no, I can't talk about this. I'm going to lie, or I'm just not going to say anything. Yeah. So I really think it's the way parents approach things and the type of environment they create. It's literally as simple as that. I know, like I said, I know people who have a very strict environment at home. Like, they're like, no, I can't talk about this. I can't talk about this. I can't do this. I can't do that.
Wow.
And they say that they end up being worse sometimes, they say, because now they're trying to do all of this outside with no guidance, nothing, and no parents being there to say this or that. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, I do find, because like I said, I always like to lean into my inadequacies. I've been able to make sure that I am approachable for most things, but I know there's areas where I can definitely improve. And I think I am someone that can sound judgmental, maybe, because, you know, I'm someone that is really reflective. I've got an opinion about everything, and I think sometimes I have to really work on that and just be conscientious of my facial expression. God, hell no, because I've stopped having the Botox to try and save money for a house. That's what I think. Get on the property ladder. Oh my goodness, don't do with me. That's one of
I've been seeing your videos actually. I couldn't believe the roof. I was like, oh my gosh, I was like, how did this happen?
You moved out because you didn't put the bins away.
Yeah.
My daughter flipping floods the bathroom. The ceiling falls down.
Oh my gosh.
Honestly.
Crazy.
Yeah, no, but that's one thing I have learned about myself, Cindy, honestly, in terms of like, she was shaking because I can lose my shit, right? At the slightest thing. I'm like a cooker pressure. A pressure cooker, not a cooker pressure. I'm dyslexic. I'm a pressure cooker.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of mums are. We carry so much load and we're very equipped, we're very skilled at carrying everything, but it can explode, and it can most often just explode the most insignificant little thing. And it might be a little bit of disrespect. It might just be a little bad day or whatever. But the whole ceiling falling down because she's fallen into the TikTok hole and let the bath run. I was fine. I was laughing.
Oh my gosh, is that what happened?
Yeah.
Because the bath ran.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And she come back and she's like, my bad. And I'm
Nah.
So my friends are like, there'd be a 6-foot hole dug in the garden if that happened. But I was at, because those are the kind of things I am equipped for.
Yeah.
I've been through shit. You will go through so much
I've been
shit.
so much living alone. Like climbing ladders and stuff.
You will go through a life of tests.
Yeah.
And test that you will be so equipped in those moments that it will be like, all right, okay, next thing, what do we do? Solve it, let's move on.
Yeah.
And my daughter was there like, okay, because she sees me lose my shit all the time. But it's those little things. So it's really interesting and we're always learning about ourselves. And I think it is acknowledging that the little things make a difference because they do build up. And when they become teenagers, Cindy, that's it. It's open. Everything that you've been building up and you've suppressing, like dogs eat shit.
Yeah. No, I didn't know that. That's mad.
Yeah, dogs will eat their puppy shit. If you didn't know that.
No. That is so random. I don't know if you're
the
pulling my leg now.
The dog man's laughing. Carl's laughing.
I think dogs are quite stinky.
Dogs eat their puppy shit to stop them being trapped. Yeah.
Is that why dogs smell so bad? No offense to any dog owners.
Because not all
dogs smell.
Not all dogs have puppies. But I'm saying dogs and animals will eat their puppy shit. And I feel like as mums, we do that. And then if we don't look after the shit, we can shoot.
I get what you're saying now. I get what you're saying. It took me a bit of time.
You can just explode. So, make sure you look after everything.
I will try my best, honestly.
But I'm really proud of you for going down this road of, like, podcasting and just conversation and getting rid of the taboo topics around being a young mom.
Yeah. And I'm grateful that I'm obviously able to do it, and it's been amazing as well speaking to you. We've covered so much things, so much aspects.
It's a time for you to share your story, isn't it? And obviously you're getting everyone else's story, but hopefully people have got to know you as the interviewee in terms of who you are as a person. And I'm really, as a Mama Brown is proud of you for being on this couch, being open, being vulnerable, being reflective, and just being able to embrace this crazy time you're about to go down, because it ain't easy.
No, honestly, I really appreciate you having me on today, and I appreciate you sharing your experience as well. Yeah. So, it can help me and guide me as well. I really do.
I hope so. I think, and if there's one thing I can do, and then my kids, when I told them the name of the podcast, she cried. She's like, "This is a reflection of me." I says, "Baby, you are the most incredible thing on walking this planet. You're so successful. You're so beautiful. You're so clever. The whole reason I can call this podcast is because you are so amazing. It is impossible for me to be an inadequate mother. Yeah. I've made lots of mistakes, but it's impossible for me to feel inadequate when I look at you." And I think, I was a single mom. I was a young mom. I lost my mom. I went through a lot of shit. But my daughter is just going off to Bath to be a scientist and follow her dreams. I do a job. I graduated university with my babies, holding both my babies in my graduation cap. And I said to myself, when I looked side by side, I was like, this degree means 10 more times the amount it means to these people because of the journey to get that degree. Yeah. It is just paper, and it means what it means to you. And specifically what you do to get it. So yeah, I just really relate, and I hope you know that you're going to smash life.
Thank you so much,
You're going to be an amazing mama. And
Thank you.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's been amazing.
Okay. Well, don't forget to subscribe. I'm hopefully going to have more conversations like this. Happy Mother's Day to all young mamas. And yeah, watch this on YouTube where I'll be interpreting into sign language, and obviously catch me on Instagram, which is Hayley Brown & Co. Thank you for being here, Cindy. No, I'm not going to call you Pre.
Yeah.
I want to call you Pre.